Hello, 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 and welcome everybody. Nana, how are you, Nana? And good morning. Good to see you. Rose, hello, fam. Good to see you. Okay, so I do have the new book. I got it. It was just released. And I did get my copy. I had it pre-ordered, so I do have my copy of it. I read 100 pages last night. The book is about 440 pages or something like that. Um, so I did read it 100 pages of it last night. And boy, the things that we found out in this book, it is, amazing. So I've taken a little break from my painting. I'm painting my bedroom and everything. So I figured I'm going to do this for you guys. Good morning, Dawn. Good morning, Patty. Brittany. Good morning. Yes, please like the live. Now, once I am done reviewing this book, you guys, like I said, it's 400 and some odd pages. You can see I've got some marked already that I want to go through. That's some information. I'm not going to spoil it all because what I'm going to do is once I'm done reviewing the book, one of yous are going to win the book and I'm going to send it to you. And then you can read it yourself. You will see the pages that I have marked where there's some good stuff. But I mean, so far, the first 100 pages, like I had to go to sleep because it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. And it's like, okay, I got to go to sleep so I can do this live tomorrow. But it keeps you wanting to read more. A lot of things came out in this book. And I feel it's a lot better than anything we have already heard from the two miniseries things that came out, the other book that came out. I found the other book that came out, which was Howard Bloom, was just full of errors and things that we knew weren't true. And this one, so far, I'm telling you, I am going to give him 100%. If I could give him 10 stars so far, I would. Because the things that are coming out are things I think we are really going to hear, and it makes sense. He goes really in depth. He's interviewed. There's police that he's interviewed and everything, I guess, before this gag order. So we've got insight from the time that this happened before Bryan Kohberger was arrested, right? And the gag order didn't go into place until Bryan was arrested. And think it was like the second court date. So there's a lot in here that he got before this gag order came into play, and I'm going through it. Now, I'm going to be taking the camera off because I don't want to ruin this, but the prologue, it goes into, like, I think the first 30 pages or so are just like giving a backstory on each of the victims and, you know, what they were doing, how they got to be where they are. They talk about how close Maddie and Kaylee were. They also talk, there's one page here that I did highlight. So whoever gets this, you are going to see a little bit of highlighting in the book, but you will see why when you read it. I will bend these back out so you're not going to see where they are, but you will see them once you get to them. This part I did mark, and I really didn't mark anything until it gets into the day before the murders, right? But this comes into play, and it says here on page 20, actually I got it marked the other way. Okay, so both Kaylee and Maddie. Now, I don't know if I'm saying this right, you guys. I will put it up here so you can see. Alpha Phi, Fo, Fum. I don't know. But they both wanted into this Alpha Phi. Okay, so the day that it was going to be announced who got into what sorority, it says Maddie and Kaylee tear open their envelopes. There are screams all around, women sobbing, running. Maddie's eyes blur with tears. She didn't make a fee, and Kaylee did. The slip of paper in Maddie's envelope tells her she's been picked by P Beta Phi, known as Fifi. Oh, Pi Phi. So it's pronounced Pi Phi. A perfectly respectable sorority, but not generally considered a top house on campus. Now, the A-Phi, which they wanted to get into, apparently was all of the girly girls and the ones that were really popular, and it was the best sorority to get into. So Maddie was upset that she didn't get in, but she was happy for Kaylee. So I'm going to take this off now because we've done it. That is going to come into play further on when we get into the book, because, you know, you can see some of the red paint still on me, you guys. Anyway, I'm painting a wall red. But anyway, that is going to come into play. So let me see if I can jump to the first part. And like I said, up to page 50 is basically, you know, the innocence. And they go through, in here, you're going to find out about Xana. She was a wild child. She basically brought herself up. She was without her mom. Her mom was, everybody knows, battling drug addiction. Her father wasn't really around, and she was raised by others. She goes into detail. They go into detail about that and how when Xana had met Madison at the sorority they were both in, there was also Emily that she met, and she basically adopted Emily's mom, and Emily's mom adopted her as a daughter. Like, she became a daughter to them. So they were really, really close. But anyway, so it's going to start here. This is just before, this is in September of 2022. This is something we really didn't know. Kaylee was dating. After breaking up with Jack, Kaylee kind of dated. And she went to this guy's house that she was kind of seeing or whatever. And the guy said to her, "Bitch, go make me a quesadilla." And it says, Kaylee wishes she wasn't at his house on this awful day. She wishes she hadn't broken up with Sweet Jack. Maybe she'd been too hasty. Kaylee has erased him from nearly all of her social media. Normal protocol when couples break up. But now she's wondering if Jack might have been the nicest guy on the planet. And if most other guys are assholes like this one in front of her, Jack never would have used the B word. She'll later tell her older sister, Olivia, never. He couldn't even be mean or distant after she broke up with him. So she goes on to start regretting breaking up with Jack. She texts him a lot about Murphy, but she was telling her friends that she wasn't sure if she was reaching out to Jack really for just Murphy or for herself too. Um, the truth is, Kaylee still loved Jack, and it says it here. And this is all information that they got from talking to her sister and her friends and everything. So then it goes back to she looks at this dude one more time. What a prick, she thought. You can make your own quesadilla. She gets up, she grabs her purse, and she walks out. On the drive home, she looks forward to the weekend back on campus and reenacting this scene for her new roommates. So it says here she did tell her new roommates about this, and she can already see Xana roaring with laughter and Maddie throwing her hands up in the air like, see, we told you, you know what I mean? And she thinks they will have plenty to say about it when she tells them about what he said to her, right? So then they go on to Xana, and they explain Xana. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but she was a wild child. She was a lot like Kaylee. Kaylee didn't like following rules, and neither did Xana. Whereas as Maddie and Ethan were like rule followers, right? Like they tried to stay within the rules of stuff. Whereas Kaylee and Xander were more free spirited, and they broke the rules whenever they could. And it was not in a malicious way. It was just, girls being girls. Um, and Emily's mom, Karen, describes Xana and, things about Xana that broke her heart, how she didn't have a mom and a dad, and, how she seen that Xana was a wild child, but she just fell in love with her, and um, she had watched Xana come from having mismatched clothes and mismatched bedding and stuff like that to finally getting to where she wanted to be in life. She had a job now, and when she had gone on Parents' Day and seen Xana's room, how her bedding matched now, and she had nicer clothes and stuff like that. She was really proud of Xana, and she let Xana know how proud she was of her. It goes on to how her and Ethan met, and how her and Ethan were attached at the hip. Um, and how Ethan sometimes complained about her when she sat on him, how she'd be bouncing around like she was very excitable, and she was like go 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 all the time. And then it said Ethan would rather have Xana wiggling on his lap than sitting anywhere else, and that came from family and friends, right? So I mean, it goes on, and it describes Ethan, how close he was to his brother and sister who were triplets. um, and how proud his parents were that they were still all together. They were proud because Ethan's brother, walked in Ethan's footsteps. Anything Ethan did, he wanted to do. And they were all three of them just attached at the hip. They go on to say that Ethan took his sister to her formal, how she didn't trust the other guys. So Ethan basically canceled his plan so he could take his sister to the formal and stuff like that. It's really interesting, you guys. We get to see another side of Ethan, Maddie, Xana, and Kaylee. Um, so November 5th, 2022, the Chapin triplets celebrated their 20th birthday. So Ethan had just turned 20 the beginning of November. So then they jumped to November 11th. They were getting ready for the Fifi formal. The usual gang comes over. And the usual gang is Emily, Josie, the Chapin brothers, Peter, Lyndon, Maisie pops in, Hunter Johnson. He's working over at the high school. But anyway, they have a big party going on and whatever. And then it gets into the timeline. And there are some things. Oops, hang on a sec, you guys. I think that could be Sister. Okay. She's wrapped up right now. So, okay. um, and it's interesting because there's things that come out in this timeline that weren't in um, the things that had been released. That's my phone again, you guys. So I'm going to go through a couple of these that we do know, and some this is new to us. They talk about Saturday, November 12th. So they're having this big party before the big game. So this is starting at 8 a.m. the day before the murders, because the murders happen on the Sunday. So this is Saturday morning. They're going to have this big party and whatever, and get ready for the game. So Emily wakes up early and gets to the dome by 8:30. She's working part-time at the football recruiting, which means she helps set up the stadium and so that coaches can meet with visiting parents and official and unofficial recruits. She's annoyed to be separated from her friends, but she keeps getting updates from their activities and group chats. And Xana is rallying the troops. Now, what I also found out, you guys, is at the beginning, Xana, Maddie, and Kaylee weren't living in the same off-campus houses. They had to live in their sorority houses for some time before they could move off campus. So it was actually Maddie that rented 1122 King Road. So that was interesting to find out. And then she found the roommates. Number one was Kaylee, absolutely. And then she had met the others through her sorority, right? And through her sorority friends. So Bethany and, oh, what's her name? Why am I going brain dead here? Bethany and the other one there. Oh my gosh, I am horrible. Dylan and Bethany. She and Xana, she met through her sorority. So she wanted them to come and live, and Kaylee, her best friend, they're back together again, right? And this all happened around the COVID time and all that. So anyway, so it's all in here. If you guys win the book, whoever wins it, you will read all about it. It goes in depth, and it was really interesting because I didn't know that it was Maddie that actually rented 1122 King Road. Okay, so 11:30 a.m. Xana summons people to urgently to King Road. Get over here. Xana puts her hair in braids because Emily's not there to help her style it. Everyone knows it's essential to look good on game day, and the party was at 1122 King Road. By noon, everyone's gathered at the King Road house. There's Kaylee, there's Maddie, there's Xana, Ethan, Dylan, Bethany, Hunter, Chapin, Josie, Lyndon, Peter, and Hunter Johnson. At 1 p.m., they moved the party over to the Whites, where Emily and Josie's room and the Afees have an apartment. 2 o'clock, Xana tugs at Ethan's hand and tells him to come outside. Obviously, the residents of 1122 King Road want a roommate photo. So they're over at that other building, right? That is like right across from the band field, that long building there. So they get the roommates outside, and they all take that famous picture that we see right here. This is the picture. First they'd take an all girls photo of just the girls from the house. Then they wanted Ethan in there because Ethan basically moved in there with Xana when they started dating. He was there more than anywhere else. So Hunter's taking pictures. Hunter and Ethan are good friends. And they talk a little bit about their friendship, which is really cool. I didn't realize how close they actually were. And they say now Hunter needed to take a photo with Ethan in it. The girls joke that the picture is incomplete without their honorary roommate. So they take the picture. 3 o'clock, the group returns to the A-Fee apartment where Hunter Johnson, Ethan, and Xana are watching Auburn versus Alabama, a college game they find considerably better than the one at the Kibby Dome, which is the Idaho game. Hunter Johnson tells Xana and Ethan his sad news. He'll be leaving them at the end of the semester as part of his graduate degree. And Xana says, but you'll come and visit. 4 p.m., maybe because he's distracted, Hunter Johnson puts his phone down and forgets it. Maddie and Dylan eye it and decide to have some fun with it, and they put a whole bunch of really funny pictures on his phone, on Hunter's phone, right? Little did they know that those would be some of the last photos of Maddie. 4:30, you want to come with me to the game? Hunter asks Ethan and Xana. He's going to meet Emily and bring her home when the game is over because Emily is working for the game. Ethan pretends to be distressed. No one cares about the actual game, only the tailgating. He says, I can't, and he's fake crying. I've got my sister's formal in a couple hours. Remember, he's taking his sister to the formal. And Hunter says, you asshole, like joking around, right? So anyway, 7 p.m., it's Athena's formal at the local brewery. Maisie is taking Ethan. Hunter Chapin is going with Maisie's roommate. Stacy, their mom, is happy that the triplets are all together for Maisie's formal and asks them to send lots of photos. So that's going to be a lot of photos there, the last photos of Ethan, right? Once the formal's over, this is 9 p.m. now, once the formal's over, and see, we didn't really know a lot about this, right? We just knew that Ethan and Xana didn't show up until like after 9 to the Sigma Chi, right? So this is why, is because Ethan took his sister to the formal. So once the formal's over, Maisie's brother tried to persuade her to keep partying with them, but Maisie's tired. She asked her brother to drop her back at the sorority house. Jim Chapin, which is their dad, told his sons that they always need to make sure Maisie is home safely. So they do. They make sure she gets in safely. The job comes with the perk. The Theta fridge normally has some pretty good sandwiches in it, and the boys get to help themselves before continuing their Saturday night. So they go, they make sure she gets in, and they feast a little bit, right? 9:30, the brothers go to the Sigma Chi fraternity house on Nez Pierce Drive, across the field from the 112 King Road house. Xana is already there. So 10 p.m., the fraternity party's in full swing. Ethan wants, it's my printer, his friends to enjoy it with him. Where are you? Ethan texts Hunter and Emily. Emily's in bed asleep, exhausted after working at the football game. Hunter Johnson texts Ethan that he'll be over when she wakes up. He doesn't feel comfortable leaving her. By 11 o'clock, Ethan thinks about who else of the group is missing from the Sig Chi party, his sister. He tries to get her to go, but she doesn't want to go. She's too tired. She just wants to stay home, and she does. So the last message that he sends to his sister is, love you. And she states later on that they never really say that to each other. They just know, right? Their sister, he does. So Sunday. So this is at midnight. They haven't talked about Maddie and Kaylee yet, but now they're going to. Kaylee and Maddie are together, jammed inside the Corner Club, a popular bar the size of a 3-car garage. Corner Club is always packed, but on game day, it's heaving. It might be a windowless box, but it's Moscow's windowless box. This is a small college town where people look out for each other. So they're there. Mark Trivelpiece, the club's owner, keeps a careful eye on the customers. He's been in business too long to make rookie mistakes, right? Underage students like Dylan and Bethany won't pass the Moscow cops' strict protocols about IDs. So a team of kids from Greek life work the bar. Maddie and Kaylee are also part of that Greek life. And they're watching for anyone getting sloppy or might need help getting home. One of them is Adam Lotta, a friend, fraternity brother, and roommate of Kaylee's ex, Jack, right? So we heard a lot about Adam because do you remember on that walk from the corner club to the grub truck? Um, Kaylee says, Maddie, what did you tell Adam? And Maddie says, I told Adam everything. By 1:20 in the morning, Kaylee and Maddie had enough. They're tired and hungry, and a little more, okay, let me turn this off, you guys, because it's irritating. Okay. Oops. Okay, that won't be bothering us no more. And a little more than inebriated. I told Adam everything, Maddie says of Kaylee's quandary with Jack. Okay, so I guess the question that Kaylee had asked Maddie was like, what did you tell Adam? Like all this stuff that she had been, telling her best friend and everything that, how she misses Jack and how she wished she didn't break up with him now. And, Maddie knows about this date that she had gone on with this guy that told her, hey, bitch, make me a quesadilla and all that. So Kaylee asked her, like, what did you tell Adam? Like, knowing that Adam is going to go back and tell Jack, right? Kaylee throws up her hands, concerned that Maddie is overshared with Adam. The friends swerve as they make the 8-minute walk to the main street where the grub truck is always parked. Food. They need food. So 1:30 a.m. at the grub truck, we see everything that happens there. The guy in the hoodie, they know the guy in the hoodie who's standing behind them, Jack Showalter. He's an occasional visitor to King Road. He's a good guy, they think. The girls flirt a little with him. Kaylee asks if he's interested in going to another party somewhere, but he says, no, I'm too tired. Speaking of that, they decide so are they. It's been a long day. They need a ride home. Kaylee texts a designated sober driver. So that's when we see them go and they get in the cab and they go home, leaving Showalter there to find his own way, right? But they had no qualms with Hoodie Guy. So anyway, 1:50 a.m., Hunter Johnson texts Ethan to ask if he's still at Sig Chai party. Emily is still asleep. 1:56 a.m., Kaylee and Maddie head back to King Road. They chat in the living room. Dylan is in her room, wasted. So somehow they know that Dylan is wasted and Bethany's in her room asleep. Ethan responds to Hunter Johnson that he and Xana are still at Sig Chai. This is at 2 a.m. So I know somewhere they said that Ethan and Xana got back to the 1122 King Road house before 2 a.m. And that's not true because it says here at 2 a.m., according to Hunter Johnson, that Xana and Ethan were still at the Sig Chai house. 2:15 a.m., Xana and Ethan return home. So it was after 2:15. 2:15 a.m., Kaylee and Maddie chat on the couch a little longer and then go upstairs and collapse on Maddie's bed. Murphy, Kaylee's golden doodle, is in Kaylee's room. Kaylee often leaves him there when she's out. For the umpteenth time, Kaylee tells her friend she's unsure what to do about her ex, Jack. So again, she's talking to Maddie and other friends about Jack. Like, she doesn't want to lose him at this point, right? So they start texting him. He lives only 3 doors down. Kaylee misses him, and she wants him to come over. So 2:26 a.m., Kaylee phones Jack. He's asleep and doesn't hear her call. She calls him a second time, a third time, a fourth time, a fifth time. Those are all from Kaylee's phone. 2:44 a.m., Kaylee calls Jack a sixth time. Then Maddie phones him 3 more times. He sleeps through all of them, blissfully unaware of the imminent danger. At 2:52 a.m., Kaylee tries Jack one last time. 3 a.m., Emily wakes up at the Whites, so at that long apartment building across from Banfield. So to do, Josie and Lyndon. Josie realizes she's left her phone in the car. So she goes to get it. It's foggy out. She thinks it's dark and quiet. When she it's foggy out, she thinks. So she's thinking it was a really foggy night, right? It's dark and quiet. When she comes back, Henry Johnson gets up and locks the door to the apartment. He doesn't know why. He just never done that before, but he does that night. He and Emily go to sleep. No one thinks to text Ethan or Xana. They assume everyone is asleep. But in fact, Xana is awake and scrolling on TikTok. So this is at 3 a.m. She orders a DoorDash from Jack in the Box in Pullman. The only place open at that hour at 4 a.m. She gets her food. We know about this. 4:17 a.m. Dylan's in her bed, drifting in and out of a sleep. And she's like highly intoxicated from what is said back here. Like nobody has really seen her that drunk before. But her bedroom walls are paper thin. Dylan could hear everything. She could hear Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan, and Xana were saying as they chatted on the couch in the living room. So that's just that didn't happen at 4:17 a.m. She's just saying, like, when she was in her bed drifting off to sleep, and she's saying how thin the walls are, and that she had heard them earlier talking on the couch in the living room. And then she hears them go upstairs, but then everything turns surreal. She's not sure whether she's dreaming or awake, but she thinks she hears someone frantically say, "Someone's here." And she doesn't think that sounds right, and yet it also does, because so many people come in and out of 112 King Road. She gets up, open her doors a crack, nothing. Dylan goes back to bed, but then she hears someone crying. Is it Xana? She gets up again. She opens her drawer like a fraction of an inch. She hears a male voice say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Right? There's a thud, and Murphy starts to bark. Dylan shuts her door again. Is she going crazy? But now it's silent. She opens the door a third time. And this is the part here where this is the first time I hear this. That's when she sees a firefighter. She thinks that she's seeing a firefighter, or at least bleary-eyed. That's what she thinks she's seeing. He's got bushy eyebrows. He's wearing a mask. He's holding a firefighting object, like a bit like a vacuum. They make eye contact for a split second. So we were wondering if Bryan Kohberger's seen her. And she is saying they made eye contact for a split second. She shuts her door and looks around for her taser. But the battery in it's dead. Bethany. She thinks about Bethany. She tries calling her friend downstairs, but nothing. And then, thank God, Bethany phones her back. Dylan, goes on to tell her about all this, about this masked man. I'm going to flip that page. So we basically, know what's going on here. It came out in the affidavit, and it came out in the court documents. It came out in their texts. And it just goes on to say how they are texting each other. They're trying to get a hold of their friends. Bethany goes on to Snap and then back over to text. She's trying to see if there's any clues on Snapchat or anything like that as to what was going on, why they heard the crying or anything. Like, did somebody post somebody got in a fight? Like, did Xana and Ethan get in a fight? And maybe Xana's crying because they got in an argument or something. They were looking for clues, right? And they got nothing. And then it's like Dylan's telling Bethany, like, look, I don't know if this is true what I seen. Like, am I drunk? Is this just like a bad dream? And then Bethany tells her just come downstairs because her phone is about to die, right? So she tells just come downstairs. So they continue trying to message the other roommates, and they're not getting any answers, but everybody's drunk and passed out is what they think, right? So 4:37 a.m., exhausted and terrified, the two girls just pass out and go to sleep. By that time, This guy was already out the door, right? He was already gone. So 4:37, exhausted and terrified, the two girls pass out. Neither of them fall into a deep slumber, though. Bethany wakes up at 7:30 a.m. and calls her parents, telling them both about the strange events of the night before. Maybe she tells herself and her parents that Dylan probably just had a really bad dream again. Apparently, Dylan has bad dreams like this a lot. Dylan finally wakes up around 8. She also tells herself she had a very bad dream after drinking way too much. Uh, she immerses herself in an Instagram for a couple hours. The house is quiet. She agrees with Bethany that she must have just, hallucinated everything and that it was just a bad dream. Around 10:30 a.m., when it should be time for the others to start like waking up and everything, Dylan starts texting Maddie, "Are you up?" There's no reply, but that's not abnormal because everybody was trashed. Don't forget, they had drank all day and then went out drinking that night. They were all trashed, right? Probably on the verge of alcohol poisoning, if you ask me. So that's around 10:30 a.m. And Dylan dozes off again. Over an hour later, she wakes up again and she messages Kaylee, "Are you up?" Nothing. But so now she's starting to panic again, right? Was it all not a dream? Like, was this a dream? She's like fighting with the idea, like, did I dream this? Is it true? Could it be true? Whatever. So at 11:49. Dylan calls her classmate and Fifi's sister, Jenna McClure, and asks her to come over. She then phones her big Emily, who's at her apartment just by the Banfield there, and Hunter, and they come over. Okay? So this is what happens, you guys. Emily kind of laughs and says Dylan can get really, really, really drunk. It's not the first time she's heard stories like this that Dylan has, said. Like when she's got really, really, really drunk and she has these dreams and she can't decipher whether they're real or not. So Emily's kind of laughing, right? And she says, "Should I bring my pepper spray?" But she's laughing, thinking that okay, another one of Dylan's wild dreams after a night of drinking. Emily gets up, goes looking for a sweatshirt, and when she comes back, she sees Hunter Johnson has already left. So Hunter's already heading over to 1122 King Road. Okay, so Hunter makes his way up the steps into the house. He heads up the stairs and sees Xana's bedroom door slightly ajar. Unusual, he thinks. He opens it. He sees her lying inert, as if she's fallen backwards on the floor, face up. There's blood everywhere. He takes in Ethan on the bed behind her, facing towards the wall. So he was facing towards that wall where we seen the blood dripping out down the back of the wall. He was right up against that wall and facing the wall. Hunter's heart is about to explode. He doesn't go any further into the house. He turns around, goes downstairs, and says, as calmly as he can to Dylan and Bethany, "Call 911 and stay outside." He takes a breath. He goes back up the stairs and heads to the kitchen across the hall from Xana's room. He opens a drawer and takes out a kitchen knife. He's terrified. He's about to re-enter Xana's room where when he hears somebody coming up the stairs. It's Emily. He stops her. "Emily, I don't think Xana's going to wake up," he tells his girlfriend as softly as he can because he doesn't want to let the other girls know what's going on, right? To save them. She doesn't understand, but something in his expression chills her, and she stands still, rooted to the spot. "I'm going in to take their pulses," he says, knowing already that he's too late. But he goes in anyway, and after he's done that, he checks the closets for any sign of the murderer. There's none. Emily has gone downstairs. He follows and waits for the cops in the living room. Hunter says nothing to Emily or the others who are outside. He's trying to protect these innocents from both the sight and the reality, but he already knows the horrific truth. Xana and Ethan are not alive. Hunter doesn't know if Kaylee and Maddie are even in the house, but he fears the worst. The devil has been at 1122 King Road, and he has no idea why. Okay? So what do you guys think so far of that? We're going to get into, we've got a few more, got a little bit more to get through. There's a couple of things here I want to get through. Like I said, I've read the first 105 pages, but we're going to stop at, let me just see here. We're going to stop. So I'm going to start reading from chapter 30 on tonight. And hopefully I can get through at least another 100 pages. And then I will do a live tomorrow going through those. But there are some interesting things here. As you can see, the page is turned over. Oh, yeah, heart is breaking for sure. So those of you who are just joining, after I have reviewed this whole book, I'm not going to tell you everything that's in this book. There's still a lot even in here that we don't know, that I haven't gone over. I don't want to ruin it all for you guys. I'm just hitting on some key points. But for anybody who does a $5 super chat donation, your name will be put onto a wheel when I am done. And if you give $10, you get your name on the wheel twice. But anyway, at the end, when I'm done reviewing this, it'll take probably 3, maybe 4 parts. I'm hoping to do only 3. So over the next 3 days, at the end of the review, I will spin the wheel and one of you are going to win this book and I will be shipping it out to you. So it helps the channel by donating. It helps, I think this costed me, well, in Canada, you can see here, it's like $41 Canadian plus the shipping and taxes and everything. It was like, I don't know, like almost $50. But anyway, and then the shipping is going to be probably around $20 because I know a lot of you are in the States and it's only open to Canada and the US. Give me a second, you guys. Sorry about that. I've got a huge inner ear infection and it's draining like crazy now. It's still very sore. My throat's very sore. But anyway, when I can start feeling it going down my throat, I start choking. But anyway, sorry about that. So at the end of the review, I will be giving it away and it will be live. So you guys will be able to see, especially if your name's on the wheel. So every $5 US dollars super chat gets your name on the wheel. And it does help support the channel and support me bringing this all to you. Okay, so what I want to bring up. So here we've got Ethan, we got Maddie, we got Kaylee, we got Xana. We've got Dylan. This is Dylan, and this is Bethany. And then this is... Okay, why is that not showing up? Let's see here. Hang on a sec, you guys. Why is that not showing up? Whoop. I'm going to show you. Hang on a second. Okay, there we go. So this is Hunter Johnson, and this is Emily. And Hunter's the one that found them. Okay, so we're going to go on to the inception now. This is going on to basically talks about Bryan Kohberger's upbringing. I really don't want to go through that part. But there's one neighbor that didn't like their sons hanging around with Bryan Kohberger. They felt like he was bad news. But the boys kept bringing Bryan to the house, and their place was very remote. Um, the father of these boys is a guy named Mark, and he was part of the Special Forces. He was a Special Forces veteran. So he had a lot of things in the house that were valuable and stuff like that. And it ends up that, um, hang on a second here. Is this his friend? Yeah, this is a guy named Jack. And so his Mark has a son named Jack, and he also has a nephew named Brandon, that were always over at Mark and Jack's house. So this was like neighbors, but they were kind of secluded, so you can't see what everybody's doing at their own house. Thank you, Des. I'm going to mark you down to be put on the wheel. So there is Des. Love you too, sis. So you are on the wheel to win the book. Yes, and Dawn says, okay, Nana, you take care, hon. Um, yeah, it goes really more in depth, Dawn, about why they didn't call 911 right away, what was going on and everything. I just don't want to spoil it for everybody. But I understand it more now, why it wasn't called. So it's really interesting, and it goes really in depth. Like, it's good. Okay, so thank you so much again for the $5 donation. That gets you on the wheel to win the book. And if you are in the replay crew, there is below the video, if you're not here live with us, below the video, there is a heart with a super thanks. You can also donate there for the replay crew, and I will see it and put your name on the wheel also. Or if you donate through PayPal, I will be checking that periodically, and anybody who donates through PayPal, I will be putting your name on the wheel also. Okay, so there's this guy, Mark, that has a son named Jack. All these Jacks, it's crazy, right? And a nephew named Brandon that's always, hanging around, and they bring this Bryan Kohberger around. Let's just see. Their house kept getting robbed. And this is when they were younger, right? When Bryan Kohberger was into the DRUGS. And like when the family would go out or whatever, they'd come back and their home had been broken into. And they found out later that, like, they didn't put it together until years later that the thief must have been one of his son's friends. And they found out that it was Bryan Kohberger. Much later, Bryan comes back to apologize, and they just get the hell away from here. We don't want you around anymore. Anyway, there was one time you're going to have to read it, you guys. He goes into his house and he knows that somebody's been in there, but he sprints out the back into the forest. It's really odd. This is just odd stuff about Bryan Kohberger. Nothing we haven't heard before until it gets to some of this here. They talk about him taking the courses. We've heard from some of his friends, but there's a lot more detail in here as to what Bryan was doing to these people, not only in his classes, but his friends group and stuff. So you're going to have to read it. You're going to have to get the book and read it, or win this one, $5 super chat, just like Des just did. Okay, so chapter 26. They're talking now about Let me bring this up. This guy. Okay? They talk about Elliot Rogers for good reason. Elliot has this manifest thing that he had done. He had gone on a rampage and he took the lives of a lot of people. But the one instant, actually, there's so many things in here that Elliot Rodger talks about that Bryan does. So, like I said, if you don't win this, go ahead and go purchase it. It's about $40. Go purchase it. Or you can try and win it here for $5. But anyway, to find out the whole story, you're going to have to read it. It's so much information, you guys. But they go through the stages that Bryan's going through and how he read Elliot Rodgers' manifesto. Okay, and I've got part of it here that I'm going to pull up in a minute. And it seems like Bryan was doing the exact same thing that this Elliot Rodgers was doing. And then we've got the Papa Rodgers. Elliot Rodgers, Papa Rodgers. Elliot Rodgers was a lot younger than Bryan. So was Bryan using, everybody is thinking that the Papa Rodgers that was making all these comments and knew things about the crime scene before anybody else, like the sheath and stuff, they think that Papa Rodgers is Bryan Kohberger, and I tend to think so too. And it's like, because Elliot was younger than him, so he takes on the name instead of Bryan Rodgers, Papa Rodgers, okay? And the striking resemblance, look at this. Look at how much they resemble each other. This is Papa Rodgers, and this is Bryan Kohberger. Like, they resemble each other so much. But anyway, let's get back to this guy, okay? So they're talking now about 22-year-old Elliot Rodgers. He comes from a very wealthy family. He drives his black BMW. This photo here, right up here, of Elliot Rodgers was taken the day that he went on his killing spree, the day of retribution, he calls it. In this video here, he says, tomorrow, he says, is the day of retribution. You forced me to suffer all my life. Now I'm going to make you suffer. In the video, one of a series he recorded in May of 2014, he delivers a message to all the girls that have rejected him since his puberty. Hours later, he embarks on a murderous rampage. Okay? He starts with killing his 2 roommates. And then you know who else he kills? And this is why I still say, you guys, Kaylee was the target. Don't forget, back here, I'm going to go back to it. Oh, shit. I refolded the page back. Hang on, let me find it. Okay, here it is. See, I shouldn't have folded the pages back yet, so now I can't even find it. Yeah, I've missed it. I know it's at the bottom of the left page. Here it is, right here. Whew, found it. I want to show you guys this again. Oh, let me take this off screen for a minute. See this here? Maddie didn't make the Alpha Phi or whatever it's called, the one that they both wanted to get into, but Kaylee did, right? And it says here, right here, they both wanted to get into Alpha Phi, okay? It's known as A Phi. It's a sorority place for blondes, for homecoming queens, for the popular girls, the leaders, girls who like to party and get ready to party, right? So everybody wants to get into that sorority. Maddie didn't make it, but Kaylee did. And in the book, this is a sorority house that Elliot Rogers targeted. The Alpha Phi, the same one that Kaylee got into, because they were the popular girls. They were the blonde ones. They were, you know what I mean? And that's why I say, long time ago, I said that Kaylee was targeted. And I think it was Kaylee that was targeted because she was the one that belonged to the Alpha Phi. They were the popular girls. They were the ones that, turned him down. And they were the ones that made him feel like he was a nothing and stuff like that. So those are the girls that he went after. And when he started his murderous spree that he went on, this Elliot Rogers, he started by killing his two roommates. Then he went to the Alpha Phi. And that's where he took, in Santa Barbara, where he shoots two of the women there, Catherine Cooper and Veronica Weiss, and injures a third, Bianca Denock. Okay, so I wanted to bring that up. It goes into more detail here, but I wanted to bring that up. Also, when Bryan Kohberger's in this class with Professor Ramsled, she explains that each letter of the acronym is path warm in regards to when you're in a group of people and you're looking for somebody that may be capable of doing something like Bryan Kohberger and Elliot Rogers did. She says there's signs that you should look for. And the first letter of each of those is, hang on a sec, for them to remember is path warm, which means, does this person have some traits of like a killer, right? Ideation, substance abuse, purposelessness, anxiety, feeling trapped, hopelessness, withdrawal, anger, recklessness, and mood changes. Is path warm? So that's how you can remember these, and that's what they tend to look for when they're, watching for people who may become serial killers, right? This is all stuff that she teaches in one of her classes. But nobody sees that Bryan Kohberger has all of these. Nobody, even though they felt he was weird, it goes in, like I said, it goes into a lot more detail here. Even though they know that he is really off, he comes to class, he does his class, and boom, he's gone. He doesn't make eye contact with people. There's just so many things with Bryan Kohberger. And he showed every sign of this. And nobody realized it. Nobody's seen the parallels, right? They talked a lot about the Elliot Rogers case, and nobody's seen the parallels between Bryan and Elliot. No one knows that. Like Roger, Bryan is a virgin who hates women. No one knows that Bryan copes with loneliness by immersing himself in video games, just like Elliot Rogers. He goes for late night drives. Like Rogers, he visits the gun range. And like Roger, he goes to a local bar and tries to pick up women. And that's exactly what Bryan Kohberger had done. This is in 2019 in Pennsylvania, right? He goes to these bars, trying to pick up women. Elliot Roger wrote in his manifesto about that he kept trying to place himself in settings where he could pick up women, but nobody really noticed him. Well, then Bryan got the idea that if he did that, that surely he would be noticed, right? Um, that people are going to see him because of his looks and intelligent, and they're going to want him. So he goes to this Seven Sirens Brewing Company bar. He has drinks there, and then women started complaining about him there. So the owner, um, Jordan, somebody or other, started watching Bryan, and then finally he confronts Bryan and he says, "Look, you're making people uncomfortable. You're going up to these women, and they clearly tell you that they're not interested, and you keep trying to force them to have conversations and whatever." So he tells them not to come back. Okay, so we're back to 2021 in Pennsylvania. And I'm just going through some of the things that are so similar. We've gone through quite a few over here that he was so much being Elliot Rogers, right? Um, just like here, no one knows that, just like Elliot Rogers, Bryan's a virgin who hates women. No one knows that Bryan, just like Elliot Rogers, copes with loneliness by immersing himself in video games. Just like Elliot Rogers, he goes for these late night drives. And just like Elliot Rogers, he visits a game range. Just like Elliot Rogers, he goes into these bars and everything and tries to put himself in situations like the pool party and stuff like that, where he can hook up with these, popular girls and everything else. Um, anyway, and he has, don't forget this best friend, Jeremy, right? He had this best friend, Jeremy. Jeremy's parents didn't like Bryan. They didn't like, Bryan got Jeremy, or Jeremy got Bryan hooked on the heroin. Jeremy had finally got clean. They didn't want Bryan coming around Jeremy anymore. And they kind of were kept apart for some time. But in 2021, Bryan got a phone call. And the phone call was, or he got a message or something like that. Jeremy was dead. Jeremy died. He took his own life. He was found upstairs in his bedroom. A lethal dose of fentanyl killed him. Let's just say Bryan was already away when Jeremy died, and his parents had wanted to keep the news from him until he returned home because they knew that it was going to hit him hard. All that's left for Bryan are memories of Jeremy as high as a kite, making them all walk the yellow brick road, stuff like this, just things that they had done together. The last time Bryan's parents saw Jeremy, he'd been doing well. Apparently, Mr. and Mrs. Kohberger had run into Jeremy and his parents at the Texas Roadhouse. It was a good meeting. Bryan's dad told Jeremy he was proud of him for getting clean. And now Bryan's pounding the table with his fists. He doesn't phone Jeremy's parents. He won't even attend Jeremy's memorial or contribute to the memorial page. He knows that that's the tipping point for Elliot Rogers also. And in his manifesto, Elliot writes that it was the loss of his best friend, James Ellis, that finally sent him over the edge. And he decided to go on this killing spree because now his best friend was dead. Now he basically had nobody in his own eyes. So now that Bryan Kohberger's best friend Jeremy is dead, he is saying the exact same thing. It's like, only if only my friend was still here. Bryan gets it, right? So we're into April of 2022. Okay. Bryan goes to in April of 2022. Bryan goes to the police department and he applies for the Pullman Police Department. Looks at his list of questions. what Chief Judkin does know is that Kohberger is an incoming graduate student and a teaching assistant in the well-regarded criminology department at Washington State. But there's something odd about him that makes Judkins say later he didn't think this guy would be able to build trust in his department. There was something antisocial that he felt from Bryan Kohberger when he was interviewing him for the position. Bryan Kohberger doesn't get the job. Okay, so this is in April of 2022. This is going to come into play. So, Bryan, I guess they wrap it up, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't get the job. Bryan packs up his gear. He goes back home. He's back in Pennsylvania. And then he gets to the point where he's getting ready now to go back to Washington in Pullman for more schooling, right? And to be this teacher's aide and everything else, because he did get that job, but he didn't get the job with the police department. I think actually he was still in, it was a Zoom. Sorry, it was a Zoom that he did it over. Anyway, he didn't get the job. So now he's in Pennsylvania. He's packing up his gear, his new knife included, and gets into his car for the long road trip to the other side of the country, Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, on the border of Idaho. Elliot Rogers gave himself one last chance before planning his day of retribution. He moved cities, went from LA to Santa Barbara for college. So, just like Elliot Rogers, Bryan Kohberger's following in line. His friend's now dead, blah, 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 blah. He's going to go to Pullman, Washington, away from Pennsylvania, like his hometown. He's going to get the hell out of there. He's going to go somewhere else where nobody knows him, and he's going to try and get a better education. The exact same thing that Elliot Rogers did. And Elliot called it his last chance, and Bryan said the same thing. This was his last chance. Elliot Rogers moved cities, went from LA to Santa Barbara for college. So Bryan puts the key in his ignition. One last try. That's what he's saying. So in July, or June, the end of June, sometime in June, he packs up and he moves. I think his mother said it was like around June 18th or something like that. Bryan goes to Washington, the end of June. Hello, everyone coming in. So, why I find that interesting, you guys, is I'm going to show you. Okay, so here's that Elliot Rogers. And I feel right from the get-go, Bryan is falling in line with exactly what Elliot Rogers did, right down to the Alpha Phi sorority house where Elliot went to take the life of those certain popular girls. That's what Bryan Kohberger was doing. And Kaylee was the only one in Alpha Phi. She's the only one out of the group that made it into the highest ranking sorority house. So, let's pull this up. Okay, so this is the story of Elliot Rogers. And they said in one of the court documents that Bryan Kohberger had underlined on page 118 of Elliot Rogers' manifesto. Do you remember that, you guys? Okay, so this is what it says. This is the paragraph that he had. This and on to the next one is the paragraph that Bryan Kohberger had highlighted. And if you see down here, this goal would give me 5 months to plan and prepare. 5 months. So if you go back to June, Bryan gets there at the end of June, right? July, August, September, October, November. 5 months. This would give me 5 months to plan and prepare. This is from Elliot Rodger, look up here. What did Bryan do? He planned for 5 months. They've got him going there 28 times. But let's read the paragraph that he had highlighted. It came to a point where I had to set a date for the day of retribution. This is Elliot Rodger's manifesto that Bryan Kohberger highlighted, and the police have it. They found it. I originally considered doing it on Halloween of 2013. That is when the entire town erupts in raucous partying. There would be literally thousands of people crowded together who I could kill with ease, and the goal was to kill everyone in Isla Vista, to utterly destroy that wretched town. But then, after seeing footage of previous Halloween events on YouTube, I saw that there were way too many cops walking around. It would be too risky. One gunshot from a cop would end everything. The day of retribution, look at, this is Elliot Rodgers. The day of retribution would have to be on a normal party weekend, so I set it for sometime during November. When did Bryan Kohberger do his? Elliot did his November of 2013. Bryan did his on November 13th. And just like Elliot, this goal gave me 5 months to prepare. Bryan had 5 months to prepare. Yeah, this is the book right here. It just came out, and I've got the copy of it. Okay? So that's where I've got to, you guys. I'm stopping at page 100. Tonight, I'm going to get through as much of this as I can. And then tomorrow, let's hope I can get maybe a little past this, depending on how much new stuff there is. Because we've been over an hour. I just wanted to stick to under an hour. So it's not long and tedious for you guys to watch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get as far as I can tonight reading this. And then tomorrow we're going to have part 2. I'm going to try and get to page at least 250. I'm at page 100 right now. If I can get to page 250, let's see what 250 is. Yeah, 250. Okay, so then we would stop here, and this would be the next video. I could probably get through the rest, hopefully. And I'm looking at it now, and I just seen this. I haven't read any of this yet, you guys. I'm not reading ahead of time. And it's funny because page 253 is going to be interesting, because this is Papa Rogers, Texas, and comments that he was putting on some of the sites. Okay, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So tonight, I'm going to try and get to page 250, which is just short of that, I think. It is, damn it. I'm going to get to page 250. So I'm going to try and read. Let me stop sharing this. I'm going to try and get all this read tonight, you guys. Maybe even a little further. But I got to watch, because if I get too much that's new, it's going to go way over an hour and you guys are going to get bored. So that's the new stuff that I've already gone through here. And a lot of this, it really doesn't start, because a lot of these are, it doesn't really start until here. So the first 58 pages is basically going through Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, Ethan, and Bryan Kohberger. Just backstories on them. So it really starts here. So look at, with just that, I had a lot of information that was new in just these pages from page 59 to 100. So like 40 pages. There was so much new stuff that came out. So I'm going to try and get as far as I can get. Let me mark this here. Let me mark it. And I'm going to try and get as far as I can. And then tomorrow we will have a part 2 where we will go over more of the new information. I will fold the pages. Like I said, one of you guys is going to win this. So far, we've only got Des that wants to win it. $5 donation. Get your name on the wheel to win this book. When I'm done going through it and finish it, I'm going to, all your names that have donated $5 or more. If you've donated 10, you get your name on the wheel twice. But at least $5. If you do donate, your name's going to go on the wheel, and we will spin the wheel live so you guys can see who wins it. And then I will ship this book out to you. If I open a book, I'm out in 10 minutes. Yep, this is the new book. It just came out on the 14th. So they shipped it out on the 14th. I got it yesterday. So and I didn't even get it, you guys, until like 5:30. And it's expensive in Canada. Like, look at the difference in price at the top there. $32 in the US, $41 in Canada, plus shipping, the exchange and everything, because it comes from the States. So you got to pay the exchange, you got to pay the shipping, you got to pay the taxes, whatever. It cost me a good penny. So one of you is going to win this for a $5 super chat. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap it up. I will get back at this. I've got an appointment I've got to get to for 2 o'clock. But when I get back, I'm going to open this back up and I'm going to start reading. I'm going to start going through it again like I was. And any new information, I'm not going to spoil it all. Like, there's a lot of information in here so far that we've gone through that I haven't told you. I'm only giving you little tidbits that I think are really important, but there's a lot of new information in here, and it's interesting, especially when they go through Xana and Kaylee. It's just like, wow. They were so much alike in so many ways, except for, Kaylee had a big family where Xana had nobody, and that's why she had her friends. She called her friends mom, and they accepted Xana as their own. You know what I mean? So it was heart-wrenching. It was kind of sad because you guys know I grew up in the system, and it brought back a lot of memories of some of the kids that I seen come through there. I really never felt bad for myself, but I felt bad for the others. I was always a strong person growing up because I had to be since the time I was very young. But some of these kids coming into care for the first time were like lost. They were scared. And I just couldn't. Anyway, we're not going to talk about that because I'm going to get all emotional again. But my heart really goes out to Xana now, knowing a lot more about her life. And that's how I want to remember her. You know what I mean? Where she got herself to before somebody took her life. Like, I would have been besties with her. Like, I could see it. If me and Xana ever met, we would be besties. Even the difference in age, we would be besties. I have no doubt about that. But my heart really went out to her, and I had tears. Okay, I had tears for her, hearing her story through obviously someone else, but oh my gosh, poor girl. Anyway, you guys, I'm going to try and get through the rest of this that I can tonight, and tomorrow I will do another live, so watch for that. Make sure you're subscribed, have your notifications on. Please give this video a like. I really do pour my heart and soul into doing this for you guys, and I really appreciate your support. So until next time, you guys, please take care of yourselves. Please stay safe. Always be aware of your surroundings. Be careful who you trust. I love you guys to the moon and back. I'll see you tomorrow for part 2. Bye-bye for now.